Hey everyone, today we're counting down our picks for the best motocross games that you should check out. And without further ado, let's dive right in. Motocross Madness 2. First things first, although this list is about motocross games, there will be some supercross games included in this list since both motocross and supercross are very similar. However, some of you might ask, what's the difference between motocross and supercross? Well, motocross is when you race outdoors on longer, more natural tracks, while supercross is when you race inside sports stadiums on man-made tracks. Anyway, this game, along with the first game, is what made a lot of people into motocross gaming, so I think it deserves a spot on this list despite its old age. MX Simulator. Now, this game is praised as one of the most hardcore MX simulator games out there, if not the most, and as you can see, the graphics aren't the best since this game came out in 2007 and have pretty much remained the same. But of course, the strength of this game isn't in its visuals, but in its physics accuracy and the community of hardcore MX Sim players. And I get it, some people are debating whether MX Sim is better than MX bikes. But who cares? Just play the one you like, it's that simple. MX vs ATV Supercross. This game, in my opinion, has gotten way more hate than it deserves. Sure, it's often compared to Reflex, and yeah, Reflex was a fantastic game. However, the goal here was to create a supercross game that gives you the thrill of realistic racing while still being forgiving enough for newer players. Make a small mistake? No biggie, you're still in the race. Bottom line, if you want a supercross game that requires skill and some know-how about the sport, but doesn't beat you down with simulator level difficulty, you're gonna enjoy this one. MX vs ATV All Out. First off, if you want something super realistic, go play MX Simulator, but if you're into dirt bikes or even those clunky four-wheelers that always get in the way, you're gonna love it, and to the It's Not Reflex crowd, well, chill out bro. Moreover, there's a bit of a learning curve, as in most racing games, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be flying. The open world is also fantastic for just riding around and finding tracks. So whether you're zoning out and riding around or pushing for the fastest lap times, this game has got you covered. MUD, FIM Motocross World Championship. This game is a lot of fun if you go in with the right expectations. It's not trying to be a realistic motocross simulator like MX Bikes or MX Sim. Instead, it's an arcade racing game that just happens to feature dirt bikes, and once you accept that, it's easy to enjoy the time you put into it. Moreover, the scrubbing feature, while a little janky in its animation, feels solid, and more importantly, you'll be focused on spotting your landings rather than the animation itself. Overall, if you want something fun and more casual, maybe try this one. MX vs ATV Legends. This game is definitely a step up from before, but let's keep it real. It's far from perfect, at least to the Reflex is the best bros. Speaking of which, they've updated the whips and tweaked some physics, but there's still work to be done. The grip and berms and the whoop physics? Yeah, they need some serious attention. And obviously, whether this game is good or not is totally subjective. So, if you're in it for the simple and fun dirt biking experience, or just love the series, give it a go, 'cause you'll like it. MX vs ATV Alive. Now this one is not Reflex, but it's good enough for most people if you only care about having casual fun. I mean, if you want realism, then your only options are either MX Sim or MX Bikes, and you can ignore all the other games in this list. But if you want an arcade motocross game, then this one will satisfy your needs. And the great thing is that it's now available on the Xbox Series X and Xbox One. So, if you're old and want to relive the good old times, maybe play this one again. MXGP 2, the official motocross video game. This was the last game in the series that used Milestone's proprietary engine before they switched to Unreal Engine. Graphically, it really stands out, even with a few quirks, and while the trees look rough and the gravel textures lack detail, everything else feels sharp and clean. Moreover, the physics are a love-hate situation. On one hand, the challenging physics make the game hard but super satisfying when you get things right. On the other hand, it's way too easy to crash, but if they had balanced that better, this might have been my favorite game in the series. MXGP, the official motocross video game. If you're more into sim racing like MX Bikes but want to switch things up, going back to the original MXGP might surprise you. This game definitely paved the way for the series. The physics are enjoyable for what they are, and visually, it holds up really well for its age. And honestly, I think this one feels like Milestone actually put some real effort into it. It plays like a full game, whereas later versions often feel like DLCs instead of new games. So, if you want to pay respects to the series, try this one first. Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game. In 2018, Milestone decided to create a new racing franchise for Supercross, which is this game. Compared to the MXGP franchise, which focuses on international motocross racing, this one centers on the Supercross Championship in North America. And if you think the MXGP and Supercross series are the same, you'd be surprised to find out they're not. They're similar but still different. Moreover, there are outdoor tracks available in the series, so yeah, I think motocross fans would probably enjoy this game and the Supercross series overall. Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game 4. This one has some seriously impressive graphics, and the track degradation with ruts feels super realistic, and the attention to detail in some of the physics is also on point, but other parts really miss the mark. And one thing that really stands out is how overly aggressive the AI riders are, even on the lower difficulty settings. I get that motocross is aggressive by nature, but very easy should actually be easy, not full of computer riders bunched up and seemingly targeting you. So, if you don't have a problem with the AI, this one will do. MX vs ATV Untamed. You know, motocross games aren't just the MXGP and Supercross series. Back then, we had the MX vs ATV series, which is a very fun arcade motocross and ATV racing series. In fact, this series had its golden age back then, with the old titles, when games were simple and designed to be extremely fun. And Untamed was one of those games that people used to play after school for years to the point where they had problems socializing with their peers. So, if you want to know what it's like to not have friends, try this one. MXGP 2020, the official motocross video game. If you're here all pumped up thinking that this is an easy game, hold your horses. MXGP 2020 is not your casual weekend ride through the park. Nope, this game is somewhat of a sim-like experience that'll have you sweating bullets just trying to keep your bike upright. However, I'm giving it a thumbs up because it's clear this game is crafted with dedication. It's definitely not the kind of game I'd pick up for a fun Saturday afternoon. But hey, if you're into that sim-like sweat-inducing experience, this one might just be your new best friend. MX vs ATV Unleashed. For PC gamers, I can confidently say that this game is worth trying out despite its age and outdated visuals. The track builder, while not the most robust, is a blast to tinker with and offers hours of creative fun. Just watch out for compatibility quirks with certain graphics cards, though the overall PC port stability is decent. The tracks themselves are where this game truly shines. Each one bursts with creativity and keeps things fresh and exciting, so if you're old or have no problem playing old games, check this one out. MXGP Pro. With this game, I strongly recommend investing time in the training mode. It not only helps you get comfortable with the controls, but also offers passive skill bonuses that prove invaluable as you progress. And transitioning from other games will require some adjustment due to the different handling dynamics, especially since this game is less forgiving when it comes to overjumping, casing, oversteering, or pushing too hard on the throttle out of corners. Overall, the game is good, but it definitely rewards players who invest time in improving their skills. MXGP 2019. If you're into tweaking your bike's handling ratio until you've got the perfect setup, then by all means, give this one a spin. But if you're hoping for a wild ride across a variety of tracks, you might want to keep on searching. And if you're debating whether to buy it, remember, it's a blend of simulation and arcade handling with a playground for solo play, but no night races and a somewhat chilly feel on the tracks. So if you're all about tuning your bike and don't mind repetitive tracks, this title might be worth your time. Monster Energy Supercross, the official Videogame 6. In this version, they've beefed up the bikes, making them stick better to the track, which adds a touch of realism. However, there's a bit of a dilemma with scrubbing or whipping. It's hit or miss, literally. And let's be honest, sometimes the physics can be wonky, sending you flying off your bike for reasons that defy logic. But here's the deal. Crank up that AI, turn off those assists, and suddenly, the game shines. The bikes will handle realistically, allowing you to find that sweet flow you've been craving since the old days. Monster Energy Supercross, the official Videogame 3. This one is a pretty decent game with a lot of good stuff going for it, but it's not without its flaws. On the plus side, there's tons of content with a variety of riders and tracks, plus you get licensed gear and mostly solid racing physics. However, there are some drawbacks like limited customization and stunt physics, so if you're into realistic dirt bike racing and don't mind a few quirks, it's worth checking out. But if you're looking for deep customization or perfect stunt physics, you might want to look elsewhere. MTX Mototrax. For just a few bucks, or free if you know the forbidden method, this game is a steal and packs a lot of punch. It's not a huge leap from ATV Off-Road Fury, but it brings its own flavor to the table with a fun, thrilling racing experience that goes beyond your usual street races. The game also offers plenty of challenges, with various modes, tons of tracks, and even a track editor to keep you busy. So, if you're into motocross or just hunting for another old-school racing game to add to your collection, this one is definitely worth a spin. MX vs ATV Reflex. Reflex was the GOAT back in the day, but let's face it, if you're picking it up now for the first time, you might not feel the same magic. Nostalgia can really color our memories of older games compared to what's out there now. Games have come a long way in terms of graphics, mechanics, and overall polish since Reflex first hit the scene. That said, if you can appreciate it for what it was, it's still an amazing game. But if you're new to it, manage those expectations, and remember, it's a product of its time. MXGP 2021. This title sticks to the familiar gameplay mechanics of its predecessors while making improvements over the previous installment. Compared to MXGP 2020, the handling is noticeably smoother and less finicky, similar to MXGP 2019. This might not sound like a huge change, but it definitely enhances the overall racing experience, particularly for those who have been with the series for a while. Overall, while it doesn't reinvent the wheel, it brings incremental improvements and delivers a polished experience for motocross racing enthusiasts. So, if you're a fan of the series, you'll likely appreciate these refinements. Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game 5. This game is pretty much similar to the other Supercross games with a few tweaks. The physics are decent, but like with any Supercross or Motocross game, it takes a few races to really get the hang of it. Moreover, the bikes do turn, so if you're having trouble, it's probably more about your skills than the game itself. The AI, on the other hand, is really sharp, so don't expect to dive bomb and come out unscathed. So, is it worth it? That's really up to you, but you should definitely consider this one if it's on sale. MXGP 3, the official motocross video game. This one is like the peak of the MXGP series, straddling that line between realism and accessibility. Simply put, it's not just good, it's a huge leap in the right direction. It nails that sweet spot between simulation and arcade, and boy, does it look gorgeous! The rider animations feel realistic, AI takes different lines, and you can actually feel those track ruts they carve out. Plus, you've got way more control over those whips and scrubs. When, how much, how long, it's all in your hands. It's easily one of the most fun motocross games yet. Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game 2. Now, this is the best Supercross game in the Milestone Supercross series, beating out even the latest Supercross 6. We're talking amazing bike sounds, where each bike and exhaust has its own unique roar. The physics are also on point, and the graphics absolutely stellar. Plus, you've got 2 playgrounds to tear up, which is always a blast. And for the most immersive experience, switch to manual bike control and turn off all those assists, and now you'll be totally immersed in the ride. So, consider this one if you want the peak of the series. MX Bikes. This game stands out as a realistic motocross simulator by boasting a meticulously crafted physics engine that faithfully replicates motorcycle dynamics and setup choices. And for a lot of people, it's more accessible compared to MX Sim, and being available on Steam makes it easier to get. However, it's important to note that MX Bikes lacks both AI opponents and a career mode. It's an online-only racing experience, but in a good way. Oh, and one more thing, for those new to this game, expect some frustration before you fully enjoy it. So do you agree with our picks? Check out these other videos from us and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.